Hey, this is Michael from Wedding Music Charleston. I'm over here at Wanamaker County Park near the Cypress Hall shelter, which is one of the more affordable wedding venues here locally. Just wanted to chat with you a little bit today about reminders for your wedding. First thing that I want to talk to you about today is setup locations. We have a contract that we've done with you, and we've outlined some setup locations, and some of those locations may have changed, but we need to make sure that we're talking about that in writing. And so what we need to have from you within 2 weeks of your event is a layout, a solid layout of how you want to lay things out at your venue, specifically where you need music or sound set up, so that we need to talk about that and look at that in advance so that we don't show up on the day of and are misunderstanding where we need to set up and those kinds of things. There are times when these plans change, but we need to know that in advance so that we bring the equipment that we need and the help that we need. For instance, at the aquarium, if you're setting up at the aquarium, there are several different places that you can set up sound. One is out on the patio for a ceremony overlooking the harbor. There's another one that's in the main great hall inside the aquarium. There's another one that's in the great ocean tank inside the aquarium. And then there's another one upstairs where the bald eagle is that sometimes people use for cocktail hour. They're all in the same venue, but they're all in specific different setup locations, and they're separated pretty substantially by a very large venue. All of those places need to be addressed. We need to talk about where power is. We need to talk about what you expect, how many people will be in that location, whether you need a microphone in that location, all those things to make sure that we have you covered and have everything that you need taken care of. Also, for each of those locations, we need to determine if there's any possibility of rain or condensation or weather, cold or heat, those kinds of things. We have to determine that sort of thing so that we can make sure that the equipment and the musicians and or technology is covered and protected. There are times when you may be trying to squeeze in a ceremony around the rain, and sometimes we can do that. Sometimes if we have a battery powered system and we can cover it up with a plastic bag or something, sometimes we can do that. Tents and rain is another thing to think about. Rain does not fall straight down. Oftentimes we think about having a roof over our heads, and that's a great thing if there's rain, but rain doesn't fall straight down. So be aware that if there is the plan for rain, that you're going to want to have sidewalls, especially where expensive parts of your event are. So if you have any kind of rain in the forecast, have sidewalls available so you can put those down behind your band or your DJ or your cake or your sweetheart table, things like that may have a problem with rain coming in sideways, because it does. One more note about setup location. So as a DJ or a band, you generally want to have your setup right next to the dance floor. There's a couple reasons for that. Having your setup right next to the dance floor, number one, it focuses all of the energy on the dance floor. So all of the loud music is going to be right there where people are dancing, and it's not going to have to travel over distance to get there. So you lose, sound disperses over area, so you lose some of the intensity of the music, the bass and those kinds of things over long distances. Also, you don't want to have tables between your DJ or your band and your dance floor, because the people that are sitting at those tables are going to get the brunt of the sound energy and the dance floor is not. So those people are generally going to have a hard time talking, they're going to have a hard time hearing, and it's going to be loud where they're at. So we always recommend that you put the DJ or the band right next to the dance floor so that you can focus the energy right there on the dance floor where it's supposed to be. Take a look at your contract and look at what it says about parking and loading locations. We like to park pretty close to the venue because we need to get to our equipment, backup equipment, in case something happens. In the heat of the moment, we need to be able to run out and grab something out of the vehicle. We don't bring big trailers or anything like that. We generally just bring a Tahoe or a minivan or something like that. So we need to park pretty close to the venue. We need to certainly unload and load pretty close to the venue, and certainly those are things that we need to cover what's required for that, and that's all in the contract as well. So review that, take a quick look at everything that you have in your contract, ask us any questions that you have so that we can make sure you're covered. Okay, let's talk about ceremony sound and wireless mics. So ceremony sound is generally outside. A lot of times you'll have a ceremony outside, at least in the South, all the plantations, places that we work at. So the wireless mics a lot of times are going to be run with a battery powered system. We have very expensive wireless mics that we can use for AC powered systems, and we have expensive wireless mics that we use for battery powered systems that don't have as much distance, but they work very well out in the field or something like that where we don't have power. What we want to do is a couple of things. We want to be close by. We can be outside of the picture frame, but we want to be close by to where we get a good line of sight from the transmitter that's on the officiant or whoever's speaking to the receiver, which is where the speaker is going to be set up. That good line of sight can't be any more than 50, 60 feet to get a good connection. That's number one. And then number two, if the people that are in the audience have all their cell phones on, even if the cell phones are turned on silent, cell phones are very powerful these days. So 5G cell phones, any kind of cell phones, they're communicating with the cell tower throughout the time. You can't hear them, but they're communicating with the cell tower. So the key is those cell phones all need to be off or on airplane mode, not just silent. Silent doesn't work well enough because it's still communicating with the tower. So off or on airplane mode. And if you're going to have somebody shooting a live video, then what we need to do is address where that person is located compared to where your wireless mics are located, to where there's not a communication issue with those. Absolutely everybody in the wedding party or everybody up front, just either leave those cell phones back at the bridal suite or inside the venue, or turn them completely off. We don't want those things interrupting. We've had before where the best man will have his cell phone on and it's communicating, even though you can't hear it, it's clipping in the you cause click noises inside the sound system. Officiants, we've seen do that before. So those are things you need to really address. Make an announcement to your guests as they come in and say all cell phones off or on airplane mode. It's very important to make sure that we get the good sound that you want. Sometimes you'll have elderly people with you in your party, and you want to make sure that you're thinking about the fact that they oftentimes can't walk very far. They can't walk very far, especially in sand or dirt or things like that. They have a hard time navigating that. So be aware of that when you're planning your ceremony and when you're planning outdoor events. Also be aware of temperature issues. So you may have, it may be hot, and elderly people oftentimes get overcome by heat a lot more easily than you would. So be aware that the heat can have a real impact on them, as well as the cold. And also be aware that there may be bugs and that sort of thing. In the South, we have the flying teeth out here, especially on the beach or around marshy areas, water areas. There's a lot of mosquitoes and gnats, so maybe have some bug spray and things like that available. When you're doing your ceremony, plan for short ceremonies, especially if there's elderly people, because they have to sit in the sun. It can cause them problems. And you don't want to have grandma or grandpa having problems with breathing or things like that. So just stuff to think about. Heat and cold. So temperature is really critical for not only elderly people, but also for youngsters. Really small kids can be very affected by the heat, but also your cake and your food. The temperature has a real impact on sound equipment as well. So if it's hot and the sound equipment's in the direct sun, it can fry it. I've seen this happen. I've had it happen to me before. So something to think about. If the temperature's too high or the sun is direct on sound equipment, on speakers, powered speakers or soundboards, things like that, it can fry those things. So we need to think about that as we plan for your event also. Power. We need to have power right where we're going to be. So if for some reason your event has a generator, you can't have the generator 100 feet away from where the band's going to be, because you have to run power through an extension cord for a long distance, and it loses some power doing that. Also, you want to have a dedicated circuit for your DJ or your band, and not be pulling heat lamps or cocktail lights or other things from that circuit. So we need to discuss if there's a problem with the circuit, or if there are questions about the circuit. We need to discuss those things in advance so that we can determine what needs to be done. Long extension cords are never a good idea because it takes a very heavy duty extension cord to transfer power over 100 feet to be able to make sure you get the full power that you need for a very powerful system that's running bass and all those kinds of things. So we want to make sure that we cover those kinds of things and discuss them, and talk with your DJ or your band or me, and I'm happy to talk with you about power requirements, that sort of thing. A lot of times people think, well, we have two different outlets on the wall here, so they're on different circuits, right? That's not true. Most of the time, outlets that are close by each other are on the same circuit. So if you pull lights from an outlet that's 50 feet away from where your DJ's plugged in, it may be on the same circuit. And so you have to be aware that if it is, you could trip the breaker, you could lose power, or the sound system can sound distorted. If it's underpowered, an expensive sound system will start to distort the sound, and you'll say, man, that DJ's sound is bad. It's because the power is bad. We have very expensive equipment. It's all very professional, and it works very well. But if the power is bad, then everything that supports that system is not going to work right. So those are things to think about with power. Just a quick note about sound systems. So if you like a lot of bass, if you like a lot of hip-hop music with a lot of bass, and if your room is going to be very big, or you're going to have a very big party, over 150 people or so, something like that, high ceilings, that sort of thing, you may want to consider the option of upgrading your sound system to have a much bigger bass subwoofer. Something to talk with me about. If you want a lot of bass and you need a lot of thump, then you can chat with me about the possibility of bringing the big 18s out and having a lot of thump for your sound system. And that's an option that we can do for you. Generally, our normal sound system is going to be adequate for about 120 or 130 people, something like that, in a normal size room. But if it's a big room, high ceilings, a lot of people, you want a lot of thump, let's chat about a bigger sound system for you. We've sent you a music selection sheet that covers all of the questions that we need to ask as far as what songs you want for certain parts of your event. And we need that music selection sheet as well as your layout for your venue to show where everything's going to be laid out, where the dance floor is going to be, and all those kinds of things. And we need your timeline. We need all of those things pretty closely in place by 2 weeks out. And if you have a live event, if you have a live band or something like that, we need all live music requests a month out so that the band can rehearse and prepare for your event. Make sure that we have everything lined up effectively for you. What we're going to do is schedule a call with you and your DJ or your musician, whoever you're using for the event, to talk through all of the details on the week coming into your event. So let's say a Monday or a Tuesday or whatever's convenient, the week coming into your event. So most of those last minute decisions are made, and we can make sure that we understand exactly how you want to lay things out. If you have live musicians scheduled for your event, make sure that you're choosing the music from their song list that's appropriate. So if you have a solo musician, look at their solo song list. If you're using the band, look at the band song list and choose your music from that song list. Otherwise, you need to discuss with that live musician songs that you plan to have them play that are off of their song list, because they may or may not be able to do that for you. So we need to cover that in advance as well. Again, live songs, you want to have those covered and agreed on at least a month in advance so that you can have those ready. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, which we may or may not have already talked about, is your music selections. Remember, of course this is your day. Of course the music is important to you, and we totally are all about that, making sure that you're happy. But remember that you have two families coming together for the first time maybe here. So a lot of these people are getting to know each other. The grandparents are getting to know other people in the family. So be careful about the content that you choose for your wedding. I know you and your girlfriends or you and your guy friends want to dance to the wild stuff that you love, and I get that. I'm not a prude, certainly at all. But what we want to do is stay away from the real explicit stuff, because what's going to happen is grandmother's going to be looking at you or granddad's going to be looking at him and wondering what this is all about. It's a lot of time to, during bachelor parties or your friends go to the club together to dance to the real explicit stuff. But I would stick with things that are more middle of the road. Obviously, you can play some things that have some off-color themes so that you can dance, and that's great, that's fine. It's really your party, but I would like to advise you to stay away from the explicit stuff for your reception, because you're setting the tone for the rest of your lives together. So just bear that in mind when you're putting your song list together. We need certainly 10 to 15 songs that are trigger songs, that are important to you and to your family. They're things that your people will all know and everybody will sing along together with. Stuff that you were screaming at the top of your lungs on the way out to Myrtle Beach one year or something like that. Those trigger songs are important. Family songs that are important to your family. College fight songs that are important to you. Those kinds of songs are critical for us. And if you use Spotify, you can certainly put those songs into a playlist, and we can pull from that playlist as well and be able to play some stuff for you like that too. Just wanted to chat with you a little bit about that. Music is very important to us. It's very important to you. I want to make sure that you guys are happy. I always try to remind clients to review their contract in advance, a couple of weeks before their event, to make sure that they remember everything that was in your contract, the specific locations, those kinds of things, and set up reminders, those kinds of things. A lot of stuff in your contract, including payment options. So you can pay via Venmo, or you can pay PayPal, or you can pay in cash. If you're going to pay other than cash, then you have to do that a couple of days in advance. If you're going to pay in cash, you can pay on the day of the event after we do what we do. But if you're going to pay via PayPal or another way, then you need to do that a couple of days in advance. Especially a check needs to be a week in advance to make sure that we cover that and that's taken care of and everybody can be paid the way that they're supposed to be paid. Okay, let's talk a little bit about options really quickly. So there are some options that you may not know that we offer. One of those options is video. So if you don't have a professional videographer, oftentimes we can come out and set up high resolution video cameras and take some video of the critical portions of your event. For instance, the ceremony and your introductions, your first dance and those kinds of things, cake cutting. Take some video, we take that video back home, we put it into Google Drive, and we send you samples so you can take a look at the resolution, take a look at the angles, see what things look like. They're very short sample clips, and see if you want it, and then we'll send you a price for what it'll cost to purchase all of the raw video footage. And you can do that. Generally, it's between $150 and $350, depending upon how much footage, how many different angles we get, that kind of thing. So you're not obligated to buy that video at all. And if you see the samples you don't want it, that's fine. You don't have to buy it. No harm done. But if you do want it, then you have some good quality video footage of the event that you can share with your family and friends and not have to pay $1,500, $2,000 for a videographer to come and shoot video for you. A couple of other options that we offer are projectors and screens so that you can show slideshows if you'd like, or a video, or the groom's best man is out of town, he can't make it to the wedding, he wants to record a video of him making a speech or a toast, and we can take that video and we can project it onto a screen for you that way. We also can do monograms, projected monograms onto the wall or the floor or something like that with your initials. And we offer uplighting for around the room. Uplighting is basically colored lights that wash the walls in color around the room to kind of set a tone. Dance floor lighting is one of the options that we offer. So if you want to have a color wash of lighting onto the dance floor, people oftentimes feel a little self-conscious dancing under white lights, and so the color wash helps them to feel more comfortable dancing. So those dance floor lights are a nice addition. And there are other things that we offer as well, so take a look at our website. The pricing sheet will show options. A lot of times we'll send you a reminder for different options that are available to you. So those are some reminders that will help you prepare for your wedding. We want to make sure that we take good care of you and your guests on one of the most important days of your life. So please chat with us about plans and thoughts and ideas so that we can work together with you and create a magical event. Thank you very much for trusting Wedding Music Charleston with your day. Have a great week.